Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trendy with Kim Allison. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your likes, your subscribes, all of your support means the world. It helps the show. So thank you. I appreciate you being here. Today's guest, I am so excited about Lauren Mitchell. She's a nail tech, and it's so nice as a stylist to hear other beauty professions, just other parts of the industry and their stories. I learned so much about nails. You'd be surprised what you don't know about something that is so common. We talk about literally everything, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this amazing interview. Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trendy with Kim Allison. Today, I am thrilled to introduce a multi-talented artist who has made an impressive transition in the beauty industry. Joining us is Lauren Mitchell, a phenomenal nail tech who specializes in gel extensions and gel-based nail services. Before finding her passion for nails, Lauren was a sought-after freelance makeup artist, you guys, bringing her artistic skills from faces to fingers. In this episode, we'll dive into Lauren's unique journey, her expertise in nail artistry, and the creative process behind her stunning work. Whether you're new to the industry or just looking for fresh ideas, Lauren's story is sure to inspire and motivate you. So let's get inspired, guys. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah. Lauren is literally, you guys, one of my favorite people. Like, she just makes me smile. You ever run into those people where they smile with their eyes and their whole face? That is
Oh,
Lauren.
yes. Absolutely. The smize, the Tyra smize, like absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
yeah. No, you want to be around them all the time. Little like rays of sunshine. Yeah,
That is true, and you are that.
I try.
So you, my dear, are a prime example for when I talk about, the best content creator not necessarily being the best artist, and the best artist may not be the best content creator, right? And
Ooh,
so you're a
yes.
prime example of somebody who probably ain't got no time for that Instagram and
Oh,
posting and all that stuff, but your work is stunning and amazing. And I champion all of those who just do really good work, right?
yes.
That's what this platform is all about. It's to, I'm passionate about the newbies, new professionals coming into the
Yeah,
industry because it's really, really hard. And anything you can get from someone with experience, you're going to resonate and touch somebody out there. And that's what this platform is designed to do. And
absolutely.
yeah, and I love an underdog, and I feel like an underdog. And I
Same.
say this whole community, we're going to create and grow, and I foresee something amazing.
Absolutely.
So
No, I
thank
completely
you.
agree. Of
Yeah, so
course.
thank you
No.
for lending your time and coming on the show.
I'm like, well, thank you for creating a platform for having the underdog artist per se, and like the people that maybe not everybody gets to see, but then is like, oh wow, like there are other people out there. Like, okay.
Yeah, that part, that have been on the journey, that have overcome the obstacles, that have, organically created a business and a following without the use of having to be the pick me girl necessarily on social media.
Absolutely. Or selling some product that nobody wants to use. And, also kind of knowing who your tribe is, I guess, or like who your people are, and knowing like if you don't want that, why would they want that? And just being
Exactly.
authentically who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren, let's talk about your background and your journey because,
Oh
boy,
man.
you have got a journey. I love it. So, how did you come to be?
As far
How
as
did
this
you, yeah,
industry,
as far as, how did you come into the industry? Like, when did you start? How did you get your start? And how did you go from, and you'll talk about that, but I know this. How did you go from makeup to nails?
um, honestly, so arts always ran in my family. My mom was a painter, and I actually used to want to be a fashion designer and was on track to go to FIT. And then, as a junior, I kind of fell out of love with drawing. So it was kind of like, all right, what's the next step? And naturally, I always loved makeup since, the sixth grade, always did my own, was always interested in learning about it and was always trying stuff. So kind of just fell into it naturally, just starting to do little small things like just to be like fun. And from there, I became a makeup artist since the age of 17. And, the dream kind of like back in that day was like, if you were a Mac girl, like you were it. And it was almost like being your own little local celebrity. So I just knew like from a young age that I was like, if I ever have to have a mall job, I definitely want to work at Mac.
And what
And
time are we talking? Are we talking what decade are we talking? Are we
oh my
talking like
God.
the last decade? Because
No.
you're a lot younger than me, so we're talking like 2009, somewhere in there. Because I know Mac hasn't
Ooh.
been relevant for a while, right? So I'm
I
trying
mean,
to like map out in my head. I remember when, oh my God, if you Mac, you have made it. If you could
yeah,
get a job as a makeup artist or even as a customer service girl, whatever they call
yeah,
them at Mac, that was like a vibe to be a
yeah.
part of the Mac brand.
Oh, 100%. No, back in that day too, it was definitely when Mac was more focused on the artistry and they were top tier, known for setting trends. And like they were the trendsetters, like when it came to makeup. So for me, it was a natural fit in the sense of I would always like see the store and like everybody looked like top tier, like amazing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be one of those girls one day. And then, my friend would be like, they look like drag queens. And I was like, no, they don't. They look like art. And I was like, on top of which, I was like, drag queens look amazing. So I'm like,
Okay, they
I
changed
can't
the game,
wait.
girl, because now everybody looks the same. I'll just
So
leave it
that
there.
exactly, it's basically Instagram essentially now. And so, which again, straight up artistry. So back then, we're talking that had to be that was probably about 2007. Yeah. And I worked at the store for about 10 years
Oh.
and loved it. But then once the company started changing, it was just no longer a good fit. And so I really wanted control of my schedule. So I just kind of started freelancing on my own. And
Well,
so
tell
doing
me real quick, how did the company change?
the focus, like many other companies, became about money. It became about
Mm.
sales. And so instead of focusing on what your customer wants and focusing on the artistry and making your current employees happy, because you have to remember that Mac, their employees, it was rare to ever leave. Like a lot of their employees stayed with them for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And
Wow.
once the company started changing, that is when people started leaving because they
Are
saw
you
that.
saying that they got bought out, or did
They
they
did
just?
get,
Yeah, because when they get bought
yeah.
out, that
So,
acquisition
yeah,
becomes just that, an
correct.
acquisition, right? So,
Yeah. Around then, they were already, when I started, they were already purchased by Estee Lauder,
mm,
but they hadn't changed much yet. So it was still very much about like runway fashion shows, setting trends, and like being the pioneer behind a lot of that before it even became trendy.
mm,
So once Estee Lauder started focusing on just churning out more product, and then putting that pressure on their artists to be like, just sell everything and anything, as opposed to focusing on
mm.
what a customer needs, that's where they started seeing that downshift. And then I feel like, especially like after I had left, they just started flooding the market because now you're no longer the trendsetter because you got rid of your trendsetters. And now you're sitting here trying to get a hold of like influencers to, have your brand like in their hand and like post about it and stuff like that. And so it was honestly a really sad thing to like watch because again, you were it.
Yeah, that was
Were
it. That was the
you were the
creme de la
face.
creme. You were it.
Correct. You could say like, oh, like I work at Dillard's, like I work at Dior, like I work here, I work there. But to say you work at Mac is a complete league of their own.
I remember.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
sad, but I learned a lot from there and I was super grateful for being in the place that I was at. And I was really lucky to have the position that I had there for as long as I did. And it was a gradual next step into just doing things on my own. And so, yeah, I started freelancing for about, I want to say it was about 8 years. And a lot of my work was bridal and I did photo shoots and stuff like that. And had some like smaller celebrities and stuff like that. Like I was really blessed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just
Yeah,
kind
you
of
did
got,
my makeup. It looked
yeah,
amazing.
one of the celebrities I was talking about.
No, well, yeah. Someday.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, it's called manifestation, baby. Like, oh,
Okay, that's right.
absolutely.
It's on the vision board. Not
Exactly.
necessarily. I think too, I joke. I say that in jest because I have never been comfortable in front of the scene. I'm always behind the scenes.
Same.
And
Yeah.
so when I tried, I've tried dibbled and dabbled there, and I'm like, I don't think that's my happy spot. But
Yeah.
behind this mic, honey, I have found my seat. This is
Exactly.
where I need to sit because even though I'm in on the camera, it's not about me. It's about
Yeah.
you. And it's almost like the perfect, no, it's not almost, it is the perfect marriage for me.
Absolutely. It's like a good
Yeah.
avenue. You get to share the spotlight with
Yeah,
somebody and then just bounce
exactly.
off one another. I mean, that's truly at the basis what artistry is. It's bouncing off
Mhm.
like other people that you're involved with, which is what makes the end result so great.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
gosh. Preach facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
100%.
you went into you were doing makeup, killing it. I was referred to you by a client who, one of my high end clients to
Yeah.
do makeup,
Love
and I
her.
used you for my brand shoot,
Yeah.
and it's one of my best, one of my favorite looks was when you did my makeup. So because
Yay.
it was very soft, and so I was really surprised to hear that you had left makeup and you went into nails. I'm like, wait, what? Like, but I mean, all you did was transfer here to beautiful here.
Yeah.
You literally didn't skip a beat. So tell us how that happened.
Um, it had been 17 years at that point, and like being in like makeup, and then I transitioned to even like styling hair a little bit too, that the trajectory of where my career was going was somewhere I didn't want to go with it. And I just found myself, especially as an artist, getting really bored. And like I was
Mm,
so grateful for my clients. I really was. Like I was very fortunate, and like the situation I was in, I had a lot of loyal clients. But it was just that artistry part of me was like, it's kind of rinse, wash, and repeat. And
mm, mm.
I needed something else, but still wanted to make good money. But I mean, as you can see, like I'm kind of casual, like I'm a little bit of a tomboy, and I didn't want to be put in a situation or a place where like it's a desk job, and
Yeah.
like that just like a lot of artists don't thrive that way. And so I wanted to do something that was creative, that I could maybe pay some bills. That'd be kind of cool. And
Yeah.
you know just like real cash.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I got to pay the rent, stuff like that.
Exactly. Like sometimes like they like that. Apparently they can't, like I can't pay in like IOUs, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it was a conversation I was having with my nail tech at the time. I'm a pretty loyal gal to like my people when I find them. And at the time I had already been getting my nails done with him for about 10 years. And, I was kind of explaining him to my dilemma because, the kind of position that we're in as like beautypreneurs and stuff like that is like, we're also kind of low key like therapists. So, you know, I was sitting
Yes.
there just telling him that, I'm bored and like I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And he was like, I'm going to open a nail salon soon. Why don't you go to nail school and I'll hire you? And so I was like, you for real? I was like, I said, okay. And I said, but I'm gonna tell you this though. I'm like, if you do not hire me, oh my God, we will have a problem. I said, because I am not getting into this industry just to join any nail salon. Like, I see what it's like in nail salons, and like, no, thank you. But I knew that I trusted his vision, and he has an incredible vision, and it's an incredible place. And so
Can you
I
name the
trusted
place?
it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's called Slane Studios.
No.
Yeah.
Hi.
And Jimmy, or Buddha Nails on Instagram, he was actually like my nail tech for like the longest time.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So then, yeah, he told me he was going to open a place soon. So just go to nail school. So I did and graduated. And then, COVID happened. So had
So
to
you
wait
were
like,
right at the cusp on the cusp of that.
so I actually luckily had graduated before, but I still had a lot of makeup jobs already. So I was still doing that. And then when COVID hit, I went from having 3 months of bookings to in 1 week having nothing.
Oh.
And so I'm like, okay, well, apparently I'm gonna be doing nails a lot sooner.
Well,
Um,
and sorry to interrupt,
no, you're fine.
but hair didn't stop. People were willing to come to your alleyway, honey, and get their hair done. Oh, can you
Yeah,
just take me at your house? Well, yeah,
yeah,
sure. I want COVID at my house. Come on over.
yeah,
But anyway, but makeup, I would imagine people were letting their hair go gray. People were discovering their natural beauty and face, their natural nails, right? And so
yeah,
I didn't even think about that. But where were we going? So who would need makeup? Or, you know what I mean?
yeah.
People,
Well,
they will shed their nails, their makeup, but they will not shed their hair. They'll
yeah,
still try to hang on that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, surprisingly enough, actually, the nail industry was also unbothered by it too.
Really?
Like if you think about it, makeup is event based. It's generally for a
Yes.
photo shoot. You're going somewhere. Like this is why even with my schedule, I always had to work weekends because that's when things were happening. And
Okay.
so being on the flip side, like I remember my nail tech, even like I remember him telling me that like he was like work did not slow down. Like people just wanted you to go to their homes, or like they still wanted nails done. And
You
so I
literally just dropped some tea for me because I had clients bald headed, honey, with the nails. They
yeah,
had taken them off, and oh my god, I've got to let my. I had no idea. Okay, I
yeah,
love that.
well,
I mean, great.
absolutely. And so I was like, well, thank goodness. And the funny part was like I had a small studio like in this hair salon, but it was in a business park. And so when everything got shut down, I decided like, oh, I'll just go in my room and I'll just practice so that way I'm ready when he's opening. And I kid you not, there were a couple hairstylists that were taking, because there was only like 3 chairs, so it wasn't like where like there'd be a lot of people there at once. It was usually just one artist like taking a client, so it was always still really safe. And like I had a door, so there was like
Yeah,
separation.
yeah.
But it was like literally, if it wasn't the stylist, it was their clients asking like, hey, um do you do house calls?
I love that.
um are you taking clients right now? Do you have any openings? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've been out here for 5 minutes. Um, I don't feel comfortable. Thank you so much. And I was also teaching myself a skill set that I didn't learn in nail school. So I was definitely like, I am not ready to offer that yet, but I mean, I definitely ended up taking a couple hairstylists because I'm like, all right, if it goes wrong, like I'm there, I can do something about it.
Yeah.
But like one of like my bigger services is they were like the beginnings of like trying that. And like my time frame
Okay.
on when I would do those versus now, oh my
Took you
God,
forever.
it took me hours.
Well,
And like,
as my audience knows by now from all of my interviews, I
yeah,
started doing color in 2020. And so, because my colorist quit, or not quit, but she retired, right?
yeah, okay,
And
yeah,
so I thought COVID almost was a blessing in disguise. I know, I mean, God bless all of those who were affected by COVID. I'm not
yeah,
trying to
100%.
minimize, but for me, it was a chance to breathe and slow down and just
Hmm.
be able to kind of reset, if you
Yeah.
will. And you had time to sit there and practice and learn your new craft
Oh
because
yeah, absolutely.
the whole entire world slowed down.
Absolutely. And I think it definitely even exposed, probably not even for myself, but a lot of other people of realizing, oh, you have a problem slowing down. Because
Yeah.
by week 3, I was like, this needs to be done now. Like, I'm tired of being home. Like, I need to get to work. I need to do something.
Okay. So
And
you're ready
so,
to
yeah,
jump out of your skin.
100%. Because I just, you get in, I think, especially as like an American, like, you get in that
Oh yeah,
habit of
we're
like work,
constantly
work, work.
moving.
You got to
Yeah.
work, you got to pay your bills, you got to do this. And it's just, again, it's that same process of like every single day of like work, make money, pay bills, repeat, repeat. And like that's all you do essentially until you know, kick it to the other side. But yeah, you know,
Did you face any challenges when you went from makeup to nails? What would you say was your
um,
biggest hurdle?
whew, I will say, like, thank goodness I have patience, and thank goodness he had patience, kind of. And what I think it it was probably the first career that I realized that I needed to slow down and really just take my time to learn how to do it properly. Where when I had tried different things, like I used to microblade and like a lot of things came naturally to me. So, it wasn't a problem, but nails, that transition is not a transition at all. The way you hold your brushes of doing makeup or like doing hair versus you holding a nail brush now and having to know the viscosity of your product onto your brush and how to
Ah.
lay it down, how much pressure. It's a lot more precise than you probably would normally think it would be. And that was a very, very difficult learning process for me.
Well, I would say that it sounds like it would be challenging because the face and they come bigger or smaller, right? You
Hmm.
have a bigger canvas and a different, the texture, everything's
Yeah.
different. Whereas the nail, you have this tiny little hard surface to work with.
Yep.
So I would
Exactly.
imagine, right? Because some people
Yeah.
who are artists, they do big, bold art, where
Yeah.
some do more finite art, if that makes sense, right? And
Absolutely.
so I would think that would be a little challenging.
Yeah, it definitely was. And, I tend to be a little harder on myself. Like, I'm a Capricorn, but like, it's just a natural, like, why do I not instantly get it? And so once I like just took a breather, slowed down, and kind of tuned everybody out, I was like, okay, you're just going to try it. Like, just try it. And then if it doesn't work out, you have help. And then if it does work out, well, hey, there you go.
Right.
And so that's kind of it. Just everything I ended up telling anybody after that, I said, just have patience. I'm like, it takes a little bit of time, but if you're patient with yourself, like you will get there. Like I promise. And sure
So
enough,
that's
yeah,
what you would tell the new generation because the newbies are my babies.
yeah,
So the advice that you would give to someone new coming into the nail industry.
yeah. I honestly,
Patience.
I would say like there are a couple things. If you can work at a shop, work at a shop. Like start there. You don't have to stay or end there, but start there. You'd be really surprised by having that community and having those people around that have been doing it for years. These vets in the game, like him included, you know, they know what they're doing. They've already pre-figured out everything. So even though these like some of these new kids are like, oh my gosh, like we'll just do it this way. Like, no, they already knew how to do this. And they're just kind of looking at you like, oh, okay, really? Wow, that's a really great idea. And so honestly, be in a place where you work with other artists. Like that
Nice.
is a huge thing. And I also feel like it helps that if you start off with other artists too, that your timing gets a lot shorter. I will say one of the number one complaints that my clients have ever had about nail salons or artists is that they take too long. The work is beautiful. It's
Mm,
exquisite. They love it, but they don't have time. People don't have time to sit in a shop for two,
yeah.
3 and 4 hours. Like,
Yeah,
who has
that's
that
right. Does
time?
it take that long?
It can. I
Oh,
only have
Lord, no.
maybe,
To get your nails done? Oh, no. That means you can't
yeah,
type on your phone. You can't, like,
no, no. Peeing is obsolete. That's not a thing. But honestly, getting your time down, I cannot say how vital that is, especially when I've had every client say that. Whether they saw a different artist before me or anything like that. The only people that I've maybe taken 2 hours on had extreme nail art. And
mm.
so those are the people that maybe I've taken that time. But
Do
otherwise,
you do anything to prep them? Like, so, you know what your timing is, and
yeah.
say somebody who might be newer in it, a little slower than you, do you recommend that they prep the client ahead, or do you think that doing that would scare a client away? And what do you do when you
I
know, like, this is going to be a little more challenging?
Um, I mean, it's been my experience that actually, thanks to social media on this end, people are more, they're actually more aware than I think I even gave them credit for. Is that when I would have somebody new that would submit like a piece of art and be like, hey, like, I wanted to see if I could get this done. Like, how much is it going to cost? And like, how long
Yeah.
do you think it's going to take? Then that's where I would inform them, like, oh, okay, like, honestly, this is pretty extensive. And like, this is probably going to set me back about like this amount of time, which most people were actually fine with, or they were actually shockingly surprised because they're like, that's it. And I'm like, girl, like, A, I don't know you. And B, because I don't know you, I'm not trying to spend 3, 4 hours with you. And I'm
Hello.
like,
You can,
okay,
yeah,
you're pretty cool and everything, but no. Oh my gosh. Like
I
we're
hear
just
you.
meeting. This is like a date kind of like no. And so
No,
I
get it.
yeah, like that timing can be really intimidating. And so this is why it is important to like get your timing like a little bit shorter. It doesn't mean you have to rush. It doesn't mean you have to do sloppy work. It just means like figure out ways to make your time faster and to make it meaningful. And
And where would
so
you, as far as time goes, Lauren, where would you know how I know how to catch up in hair,
yeah,
but pertaining to nails, like in hair, you'd say, well, this person has low density. So I
yeah,
know I'm not going to spend as much time at the shampoo bowl,
yeah,
or it's not going to take me as long to apply. So I can add this to your service because I know how to catch up so that I can include that.
yeah,
Right. And
right.
so with nails, what are some of the, how do you map that out?
Honestly, really good idea to ask your clients questions. Some of my regulars, I'll usually ask if it's been a while. I'm like, do you still have your set on? And they're like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, oh, girl, you waited a long time. But I'm like, I understand, girl. We got budgets, but okay, you gonna stick with the finest. Okay, I'm not mad at that. But honestly, asking questions ahead of time definitely helps to set you up. And like also I would say knowing your product and knowing what you're doing definitely helps. So that way, like if you know your product, you know how it sets, you know about how long this time is going to be. And honestly, I like it sounds kind of weird to pay attention to the clock, but honestly, knowing that timing that you're going to have with like certain things, like just really keeping up on it. And don't get me wrong, like I definitely have like run behind a few times. And I will say more often than not, it's actually because of my clients running behind. And I'm like, cool.
You're like, oh, I need the whole hour, but okay.
Correct. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. But that was definitely one of the huge bonuses of working at that salon and working specifically next to Jimmy, was that my timing became faster and faster to match his. Cause like that dude will do your nails, give you massive art, and be in and out within an hour. He
Woo.
timed all of his appointments to like an hour, some a little bit more, but mostly 1 hour. And it was a lot of pressure because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. He'd be like, why is that taking you so long, bro? And I'd be like, oh my God. And
well,
like,
we train our clients, right? You teach people how to treat you. And so by what you accept. And so when, that's why I like to ask that question, how much is too much in a service? So, you come in and the client comes in, they're all indecisive and they say, they give you like the most. I want this. And so before you say, yes, I can do that, I'm sure, like I was given the example earlier, you're going to say, well, it's not going to take me long. It just depends on where we're starting. It depends on your nails, the condition they're in, right? And so if when they're adding all these things, say it takes you, I think this is the beginning of the end for people when they get shortchanged with services, because you spend forever in a day, they love it, but you don't charge them anymore, right? And so once you do that, and I'm not talking you personally, but just anybody who is working like a dog and being underpaid, this is how it begins. So if you think this through day one, which again is what this platform is all about, just helping people think things through day one who are new to the industry. Like, everybody says, oh, you got to know your worth. Is like, yeah, I know my worth. But at the same time, a client is better than no client. And so I can't come in hot and then they go to the next guy because I'm doing this. You still want to keep the client, but at the same time, you don't want to train your client to have these high expectations for this low money.
Correct. Honestly, it's what I feel like is happening. There has been like a huge shift in the beauty industry as a whole, where a lot of these new people are coming out the gate charging all this money.
Good.
And to me, I'm like, that's great as long as your product supports
that. Got to back it up.
Correct. Because there's a lot of them out here that what you're charging and what you're putting out, those don't match. And then on top of that, especially in like the hair industry and the black hair industry at that, where there are so many people having 900 rules before you even walk in the door. I was like,
come in with your hair washed, bring your own products. Don't be late.
Color your own hair, cut your own hair, flat iron it. Okay. And I'm like, okay.
Then what do you do? And then I mean, I've gotten my hair washed in style because I just, I'm a hairdresser, but sometimes I like to sit in the chair and see what you can do. Can you do better than me? Because I get on my own nerve. Let me see what you can do, right? And so, and then it's like $135, and I've gotten a trim with no shape, really, just hair cut off my head, and a deep condition, whatever that means these days.
Exactly.
And as I'm laying in the chair, I'm thinking of all this that you're doing. I literally could have done this at home.
Absolutely. And so that's where I'm like,
and then $1 billion later, I'm like, oh, wow. Because I'm a veteran and I charge half of that, but okay.
Correct.
So you're right.
Like a huge shift. Yeah. And I think it's very odd, but this is also where I think, because now the client's voice is getting heard about, like, you guys are out here charging these astronomical prices, but your services don't match up with it. That now I almost feel like there's being like another shift where they're going to be like, nope, you want to charge that? then I better be able to see why you're charging that. So
Good.
like, I've had so many clients even that were like, oh, like you trim cuticles? And I'm like, yeah, what? And they're like, oh, like they never like do it. Like when I go to like the salon by my house. And I'm like, that's because by your house. That's why you had to come every year. But that's kind of where like, that's really where like in this industry, like you build brand loyalty by providing like, what would you want as like a customer?
Yeah.
And honestly, it has always been my motto that I'm going to treat people the way I'd want them to treat my mother. And so would I want her cut, like her cuticles to get cut, like her get finished off, make sure she gets like cuticle oil, she's hydrated and she's walking out like looking like, okay, I'm ready to take on the world. Let me go to Target. And like, I want that feeling for people. And I think that that's where sometimes there's a disconnect of like, you can tell the difference between people who care about their business and care about their clients. And especially in our industry, we rely on client loyalty.
For sure.
And a lot of like, you know, drop in kind of places, like whether it's hair, whether it's nails, they rely on numbers. And so that's why, you know, it just doesn't make any sense at this point to be sitting here with like all the rules and like high pricing and then just to walk out of there with $135.
You're kind of like, meh, like, okay, what did I get? Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gone the next day because it was nothing to begin with. Oh boy.
Exactly.
Well, you are not one of those people, Miss Lauren. And in fact, I can show y'all. Okay, so this is natural.
So, yeah.
What is this that we're looking at?
Okay, so on my lovely client here, this is called structured gel. So basically, it's a product that's a little bit thicker than your traditional gel, or also known as builder in a bottle, BIOB. But she has a structured gel manicure. So all the length that you see is her natural length. And you can see that her nails are clearly healthy. And this is like one of the products I really love because for my shop, nail health is really important. And that actually comes from trauma of going to nail shops and having like rings of fire, having stuff ripped off my nails, that I really wanted to create an experience where, you know, people could grow out their natural nails if they wanted to, or they can get extensions and it not hurt. And that's where for her, she wanted to grow out her natural nails. So like we've just kept structured gel manicures as like her thing. And that's how she's like grown out her nails. They could even go longer, but she keeps them trimmed for what she does for a living. And, you know, just continues to have healthy nails.
Yeah. And her cuticles don't look all traumatized and,
okay, cuticles wear. Yes.
Okay. I mean, no cuticle, but it, you know, I don't even know what to call this, but normally it's all raggedy on people, right? All crusty. Yeah. So let's talk about this beautiful, oh my gosh. So is this, because, you know, I know some people use stencils or they use those. I know you ain't doing that up in your salon. I'm just saying this is all hand work, correct?
Yeah. Absolutely.
How long what is this shape called? How long did it take? And what was the process?
So this is Stiletto. This is actually one of my really great regulars who has become a good friend. And she actually moved to New York and was like giving me all the anxiety tea that she was having about finding somebody new. But what she has on is called Apres or Gel X. The shape is called Stiletto. And she was doing a cruise in Europe. And so she wanted something kind of beachy, but not like super loud and like colorful. That's like not really like her steez. And so, she showed me a picture of shell nails. And so that's kind of what we did, a slightly altered version because she doesn't like texture on the nails. And so I believe this took an hour and a half total.
That is beautiful. And it looks like exactly what you just described. Your client described. It looks like shells.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely perfect. And the fact that you can do that on our 10 times is That's incredible. Like,
Well,
and you're right. The meticulous nature of it all. That's got to be the kind of like the what's the word? Because my brain hardly works these days. But
same.
that's got to be what separates you from your competitors.
Generally, yeah.
Because right, you're gonna have some that take the time and others that try to take shortcuts.
Oh, 100%. If anything, that could have even been where freelance nail tech started coming from, was because that's what separates going into like a fly-by shop versus going to a private artist who actually cares about their work. Because at the end of the day, with beauty, like, you customers are walking billboards. And so if somebody sees her nails, which happens often, that they would be like, "Oh my God, I love your nails." And she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And they'd be like, "Where do you get them done?" And she'd be like, "Oh my God, you have to follow, like, go to the gel spot, or like follow House of Low. Like, I'm telling you, like, you won't regret it. She's seriously the best." And I'm like, so appreciative that my clients do that.
No, and they're absolutely correct. I can attest.
Yeah,
The best.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Beautiful. So for this, what would you charge for something like this?
I believe, because she keeps a prey on, so I have a service that's called a prey set with removal, which I believe is 90. And then the nail art is a little bit more extensive. So I want to say this was nail art, I think it was 4 or 5, which, if I knew how to count, I want to say it was either $45 or $55 for nail art. So you're probably looking at
Wow.
like 135, 145.
Okay. I
Yeah.
love it. Now this though, I mean, as cute and fun as these are, I don't know how women function. I can't function.
Um, yeah.
Like that
This
flower
was,
would probably be up my butt. I don't even
yeah.
know.
She actually happens to be I have literally a couple clients that are like my extensive nail art people, and she
Okay.
is definitely one of them. This would be one of those sets that took me a couple hours. It did take me actually about 2. I think this was actually my first time using moldable gel. And so those like 3D koi fish, it was like the first time I've ever done koi fish before, or actually I've ever even used the gel. And so
You
I
did
kind of
that
just,
with gel?
yeah. And I kind
So
of
you
just
had to
went
draw
in.
that. You had to use so gel the material, but
Yeah,
you had to create the shape.
correct. So they have a gel material that you can kind of roll into a ball, almost like Play-Doh. And if you kind of break it down, you can figure out how to construct like the body or the shapes of whatever it is you're trying to make. And so the koi fish was like a 5-piece process of like, basically, what I didn't like watch like a YouTube or anything, which probably would have made it easier, but I just kind of looked at the construction of it and was like, okay, I think if I do this, this, and this, I can create the shape that I'm looking for. And so kind of got done. And this was one of those times where
Did
I was
she
just like,
absolutely love it?
yeah, no. And she's also the type she'll wear her stuff for 2 months before she comes back and be like, "No, I didn't want to let it go." And so I'm like, I understand. Um,
You
but
like that koi fish is trying to jump off your nail at this
yeah,
point.
but the way that those are made, like, they stay on really, really well because it's gel adhering to other gel. And
Ah.
so you don't have to worry about it falling off or anything. But yeah, it was my first time.
Can you break down gel real quick, like that product as opposed to acrylic?
Yeah, so acrylic is made of like an acrylic or a monomer and a polymer powder. So you have monomer liquid, which is the liquid you'll see that gets used with a brush that you gets dipped into like a um, polymer powder. And so that's why when it goes on the nails, it instantly dries, doesn't require a light or anything like that. There are certain acrylics called MMA that are actually illegal to use, that a lot of those kind of chop shops tend to use, that are really bad for the nails, actually. But the difference is that with gel, it requires an LED in order to cure it. And so with gel, you can do hard gel, you can do soft gel, like a Prey or Gel-X, which is what this is too, is actually considered a soft gel tip. And so this is basically made of gel, and then you adhere it with a thicker gel. And then you go back to put gel color and gel top coat on.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the removal of something like this?
Removal of this is basically just trimming down the tips and then filing it thin until you break the barrier of the actual tip itself. And then I like to stick it in acetone. I have some clients that I'll actually foil wrap, and then it's kind of going in. For me, I use a drill when I remove it. However, like I lift my drill a lot, and knowing my drill really well is how like I kind of avoid like burning and getting those hot spots. Some people use a hand file, but these are also generally people that have their clients in the chair for 3 or 4 hours. So
Yeah.
I choose to go the faster way. But I also always leave a slip of gel like on the nail so that your nail underneath these looks healthy. So if you had to leave in like a split second, you have something on your nails that protects it.
Oh,
And
nice.
I've had a lot of clients that even use this product to actually grow their natural nails out. So once they get to a length that they want them, we'll do a full removal, and then we'll switch over to like structured gel.
Okay. So you think this is the healthiest way, or are any of them healthy? Is it just a preference thing?
Honestly, this is kind of a preference. I've always told people that, because, they hear through, social media that like acrylic is bad and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it's not. It has more so to do with your artist. You have
Gotcha.
artists that know how to use this product, or that will use this product, and they do a terrible job and they mess your nails up. And then you have artists who I know that do amazing acrylic work, and like the minute they go to remove their acrylic, that person's nail bed is clean, it's healthy, and it's happy.
Nice.
And so it always really has to do with your tech.
Gotcha. So it's operator error, if anything. It's not necessarily the product itself. It's the operator applying the product.
Right.
What are some, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that like it can be your artist, but also sometimes it's wearer error sometimes. And like some people who peel their stuff off or bite it,
I
and
know.
nail biters and stuff like that, that I'm like, that can also determine like how well a product stays on. So yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Definitely true. What are some of the current trends that you're excited about? Do you see, is anything new coming out that you have your finger on, like that you're working on, training on?
Honestly, not necessarily. I tend to be one who doesn't necessarily follow trends.
Okay.
In actually most aspects of my life. I more so go to like what inspires me. And so doing 3-dimensional art, but more clean, is like something that like I love doing, or like doing more minimalistic nail art. Like that's like something I love. So when I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm kind of basic or I'm boring. And I'm like, no, like you're classic, you're timeless. Like there's a difference.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And the majority of my clients are like that. So like, seeing the trendy, like crazy art where it'll be like a face in 3 dimension. I was like, ain't nobody wearing that in real life. Like, come on now. Like, really? Like, we're walking around with all of them the same. Like nobody is doing that. I literally just told a girlfriend this the other day, that I was like, why are we so bored? And I'm like, are we that bored that we're just like, oh my God, we're going to do this and it's going to be fun and it's going to be viral? And I'm like, I just feel like that time could be spent better doing something else. But you know what? Whatever moves you, I guess.
And in the end, it just looks dumb.
Correct. And I'm
just it totally, and with that said, how do you manage your clients' expectations? When they come in with said craziness, are you able to like, reel them back a little bit, edit, their request, or do you just, all right, girl, If you want Barney nails, so be it.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm very open with communication, and I try to make my space as safe of a place as possible to feel comfortable with having a dialogue about what you want versus what you're going to get versus what you
Yeah.
booked. And
Yeah.
so I think like between those things is kind of what determines like where we're going to end at. Because I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a, like, I've had maybe like two people in my entire career so far that when they wanted some extreme nail art but they didn't book correctly, and like I'm back to back, that I tell them
Mm.
like, okay, well, we can do this, or like we can choose a couple of these, but we can't do the whole thing. That I'm like, but if you really want this, then like, how about we rebook? Like, let's reschedule so that way, like, I can make sure that you get what you want. And
Yeah.
even when I worked in a shop, you know, that my end of the day goal was I want to make sure my client's happy. So even if I didn't have the time and like I had like a fellow artist that like had availability, that I'm like, hey, I can't do this right now. But if
Okay.
you'd like, let me ask them, and like I'll place you with them to see if like they can do with the nail art you're asking. Because I have no problem referring people ever. And because at the end of the day, get what you want and speak up about it. But also
Yeah, I
be
don't think you
realistic.
do. Yeah, I don't think you do yourself any favors as the artist to take on things that you don't know how to do. I mean, you're
100%.
frustrated, they're frustrated, you end up giving it to them for free because you know you effed it up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think you're 100% right. Pass it
Yeah, and
on.
at the end of the day, who wants to be stressed? I don't want my client stressed.
Mhm.
I don't want to be stressed. So if both parties are being realistic about what the situation is, then more than likely both parties are going to be happy. And they'll be
Exactly.
like, okay, you know what? Let's just do nude for now. And then like when I book in like 2 weeks, I'm going to go ahead and like I'm going to book that nail art. And I'm like, cool, this is what you're going to book. I cannot say that enough. How many times I tell clients, please just ask, because I will answer generally anytime, but just ask if you're unsure.
Yeah, better safe than sorry, for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
What are your must have products when you're working on your gels? Like, what are you in your kit? What must you have?
I would definitely say, okay, some must haves. The gel bottle is my favorite brand. For like builder gels, gel colors, like love them. Um, I would say definitely those. Oh my gosh, and of course I'm going to forget the name, but young. Oh my gosh, Young Nail has like some of the best files. I swear by their files,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, really good dual-sided ones. Love them. A 5-in-1 bit for like removing product, really good. And then yeah, I mean, let me see. Like there are actually a lot of good brands that have like good talk codes, like accents and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But I would definitely say those three. Cuccio cuticle oil is like one of my favorites, and like emit lotion smells really good, but it's actually rich and like actually hydrates, and especially in our climate, like you
Yeah.
need that here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say like those are probably like some of like my top. Stanley's, because it keeps me hydrated and she really be withstanding like the heat and stuff that happens. So yeah, I'm gonna give her a shout out. Yeah.
I love that. What's the best piece of advice that you have for somebody just starting out? Like, if you had to give your best advice, like, girl, young Lauren, has she known this? Then it would have been a game changer.
I guess I would say probably believe in yourself and follow it all the way through until it doesn't feel like you can follow it anymore.
Ooh, I like that.
Like don't give up, don't necessarily, you know, kind of give in to like what people say about like, you know, you're not going to be able to make it, there's so many other people out here, like why would you bother? Like every single individual has their own style, their own clientele, their own unique touch, even if it's in the slightest way. understand that like your own magic is what your customer wants. They're not
It's
looking
so
for
true,
replica.
Lauren, that you say that. That is it. It's like, yeah, nothing is new under the sun.
No,
Nothing. I mean, do you
no.
think Elon Musk went out and said, you know what, there's already cars, so I'll
Yeah.
just move on to something else?
Rihanna didn't say there's already makeup, so I'm
Yeah,
just
there's
not going to
already
do makeup.
makeup, or Kylie Jenner, there's already lip gloss. I mean,
Yeah,
but guess what? There's not lip gloss in you. There's
correct.
not a nail salon that has Lauren. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And so people underestimate themselves in the business, and that
Yeah.
you have a personality and you are unique. You're the only one, unless you're an identical twin, I guess, with your DNA. And maybe they have some differences. I don't know. I have to ask my brothers who are well, they're triplets with my sister, but they're identical.
Yeah.
But nobody can be you but you. And
Yep.
all you have to do all you have to do is do it your way.
Correct. Your only competition really is you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. That's why I don't worry about other people. And if they're worried about me, again, why do you have so much time? You know, I am not your competition and you are not mine. What is meant for me will always be meant for me. And so I feel like that's what I would tell them is like, don't worry about it. Do your best. And if you've given it your all and it's not what you wanted, try something else. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
life's all about, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to be drawn towards something or pulled away from it. And
Yep.
that's all within yourself. That's you doing that.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with you and your busy business and all the things that you've done, from makeup to nails, you killed makeup, you're killing nails. So clearly you're exactly where you belong in
Yep.
business. But how do you create your work-life balance? Because I know we didn't even tap on that. You're a mom.
Yeah. What's work-life balance?
Yo, no, no.
No, actually, what I will say is that is probably like one of the best things is that if you put in the work to get the clientele that you have, the biggest part of that luxury is you get to set your own time. And so you have control of your schedule in that way. So, at the other place I was at, like I experienced burnout, and it wasn't even because of them. It was of my own doing, because like I was just go, 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 go. And my mental health took such a plummet
Yeah.
that I was like, something has to change. Like I still need to be able to pay my bills, but I can't survive like this much longer. And so like, as much as like I loved the people I worked with, I loved the environment, I knew that it was that time for me to leave. And so getting into your own space and controlling your own hours, that's the beauty of it. You get to control your own hours. You can change them if you want to. Try not to be too crazy about it, because, people love
Clients
consistency,
got to keep
but
up with you. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. Sorry, I'm only working one day this week, but next week
Yeah,
I'll be
but
here for 3 hours. And you're like,
yeah.
what? But that is definitely like the beauty of it, is that, I try to work for 4 days a week and give myself that balance of like having a life and like taking care of my health. And that became like a newer thing too, of like, I really need to put me forward and I need to
Yeah.
find ways to fit me in there, because this business isn't going to work if I'm not in it. And, having a kid, a 16-year-old, you know, kind of like like two kids essentially, like,
Yeah, he
it's a
needs
lot.
you around, because that's when they start slipping through the cracks at 16. They
Exactly.
start getting squirrely, if you will.
Exactly. So you got to keep your eyes on them,
Yeah, very
but
creative. Like, oh yeah, that homework didn't upload yet. Yeah, it just hasn't uploaded yet. That's why
yeah,
my grades aren't, that's why I'm getting a D. Like, no, bro.
yeah, thank God my
It
beautiful
has
little liar
uploaded and
cannot
you are
lie.
in fact getting a D. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, teenagers assume that they fucking invented everything,
Girl.
so it's kind of like, oh, that's adorable. I used to say that too, but I was actually slicker about it, and I was actually believable. You are not that believable, so that's crazy. But no, I'm very lucky. He's a really, really great kid, thank goodness. And like, you know, I've managed to start finding that balance. I think now, if anything, I would just say it's more of like the balance of like working more on the 4 days versus like working less, and like kind of what works not only just for me but for my clients too.
So you
And
set
so
like a 4-day schedule, like you gave yourself
yeah,
4 days and just knock yourself out in that 4 days. And then I get
that's
my other three. That's what I did. I mean, I
yeah,
did 3.5, but the half is optional, right?
yeah,
So I can always work more using
exactly.
the job I currently have. That's the way I
Yeah,
set it up from day one. I said, I never need another job because I can just work more of the job I have.
correct.
You
And
know how
that's
you
like the
have
thing is, once you get like fully booked and you're already at max days, like you have nowhere to go from there. So at
exactly,
least if you start off a little bit less, then that gives you some wiggle room to like
exactly.
move a little bit more, but also be
Yeah.
realistic like with what your finances are, and like what are your clients essentially telling you as to like when do you notice like the trends of when they're booking, the days, the times. Like I took time to figure out what days I wanted off based off of like my sales for like each day, and like what day was the slowest that I could afford to take that additional third day.
Yeah,
And
smart.
like and it's worked out ever since. And honestly, you can still even offer like additional fees and stuff like that too if you want to come in like, oh, you want me to come in on my day off, like yeah, that's not a problem, but you don't pay, that's
Oh,
what I'm
okay,
saying. Yeah,
because
but I'm gonna be there.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. No, that's great advice. And I think that to do that, you have to be probably a little further along in your
Yeah,
career,
I would agree.
or book solid with an overflow. That's
Yeah, you
that's
need to
the
have one
only
of the
time
two for
something
sure.
like that works.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I love that. And this has been lovely. I am so glad that you came on. It was so
Me too.
nice to pick your brain and just get perspective on the independent nail artist, because you have, I don't even know if I can say this, but the Asian community came in and just took it. They killed it. They do amazing. They open salons, they build generational wealth with these businesses,
Yeah,
as immigrants. And that's impressive. And
absolutely.
they're really good at it, clearly,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
they've made it, they're like the Amazon of nails. They
yeah,
came in, they made it cheap, convenient, one on every corner. I mean, you can get there quick tomorrow,
yeah.
get in an hour from now, whatever, what have you. And so I appreciate artists like you who are independent and really kind of pulling that back, and not that the salons, I'll call them, are cheap, but it's not a boutique style experience, if you will. And I think
Generally, yeah.
people, does that make sense? I think
No,
people
100%.
appreciate that boutique style luxury type of experience
No, of course.
that you
No.
bring. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? I mean,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to
No.
offend anyone because everybody's great
Right.
doing what they do.
Correct. I was like, you have the good and the bad in both industries. And honestly, like that community is, that's probably like one of like the shining things about them is that they're a community. They all work with one another. They all support one another. And, because of like their contributions, it is how artists like me are able to also kind of like learn from them. Like even, my boss was Vietnamese, and his mother was the best woman ever, like amazing. And like that sense of tradition, providing a service, like that's very deeply ingrained, and I admire it. And so I took that with me into the kind of business that like I wanted to have. I didn't want to just be another like, you know, boutique like nail
Yeah.
artist, like I really wanted to create like a sense of feeling when you're here of
Yeah.
like I can depend on her, like she's safe, like I always get what I want, and like if something doesn't go the way I want it to, like I know that like she will fix it. And I
Yeah. It's
understand
more
that there are
personable.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
and there are some places that you're going to go to that it's just like, no, you're a number. Like, no, we don't do
Yeah.
nail art. No, we're
Yeah.
not soaking your nails off. And like,
Yeah.
no, it looks good. And you're like, but it doesn't look good. And they're like, no, it looks
But
good. And I'm like,
except it doesn't. But that's okay.
exactly. And that's the thing. Like a lot of communities do that. So that's why I'm like, no, like I can absolutely understand the difference, because there are definitely strengths in both. And then there are weaknesses in both. So
Oh,
it
for
really, at
sure.
the end of the day, just balances out to like, as a customer, what do you need? And that will determine where you should go.
Yeah,
Clearly me,
absolutely.
but yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say it's no shade to the Asian community. My family is Asian, and I understand the work that and the way they think. They know how to take care of their family for generations. And it is, you're right, it's something you can learn a lot from the Asian community and how they move. I'm telling
Absolutely.
you, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thank you. And it is time for my rapid fire. I
Oh
love
God.
this part where I set a minute timer and I
Okay.
just pepper you with questions and you answer them as quickly as you can.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. All right.
Favorite movie?
The Labyrinth.
Morning person or night owl?
Night Owl.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Go-to karaoke song?
Mariah Carey, Dreamer.
What if you woke up and you were a man?
Sick. Okay.
Favorite dessert?
Cheesecake.
Most used emoji?
The like sad face one. That one.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Mind reading.
Dream vacation destination?
Africa.
Favorite TV show binge?
Right now is the Schitt's Creek. There we go.
Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Favorite childhood memory?
Ooh. Oh my God, that might be one I'm stuck on. Honestly, anything with my mom.
Love it. Make your silliest selfie face.
Yeah, I don't care about being ugly. It's totally fine.
That is the best one so far.
I feel like those people want to be attractive, and I was like, I honestly don't care. And I'm like, I would much rather make somebody laugh.
Well, that is the thing.
Like, no, girl, put all the chins out there. Like, honestly, who cares?
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren. I had so much fun. I hope you did as well.
Yes, I did. It was amazing.
Awesome. And yeah, where can everybody find you?
You can find me personally at the House of Low on Instagram. Otherwise, you can kind of find still me and the shop on the Gel Spot on both TikTok and Instagram.
Perfect. And you're in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yes, I am. Right here too, if you can't see. I can't.
Yeah, let's show them the sign, the Gel Spot. Let's show them your neon sign because we couldn't get it in frame. But she has the prettiest salon, you guys. It's so cute. Yay, the Gel Spot.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you, Lauren. It was so good. It was such a pleasure. Until next time, love you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.